and welcome to Lesson 12 of Speed Puzzling 101 Tips and Tricks. Quick speed puzzling lessons in under 10 minutes. Today's lesson is on puzzling upside down. Today's lesson is inspired by a challenge proposed to me by Danielle Engleson in episode 6 of Puzzled and Chatty. Here's what she said.
Well, I would say something, I don't know if this is it is a challenge, but I don't know. Just take it for you will, face value. I often bring these little 99 piece puzzles with me in places, and you've obviously have those as well. I'm sure you've seen them. And I've just done them so many times that it's like, the puzzle, obviously, like the back of your hand, to do it upside down. So when I was doing it, like one of the last times, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this upside down and see how long it takes me and, start to practice really looking at the shape and see, and then doing it right side up made it easier because now you're looking at every little detail, which you normally do anyway. But when there's an image on it, obviously you're looking at the image first, the shape, the nuances of the piece second, in my opinion, unless you're kind of near the end of the puzzle. But I thought that was a fun challenge to do when I had it, because I was like, you know what, how often am I flipping a puzzle upside down and doing it?
If you haven't watched it already, I highly recommend you do so. Take a 1,000 piece puzzle off the shelf and puzzle along while you listen to the two of us talk about puzzles. As a disclaimer, there is no single correct way to solve a puzzle. My advice may work for some and it may not work for others. I encourage you to try as many different strategies and approaches as possible and find out what works for you. Today's lesson, focusing on puzzling by looking at the back of the puzzle, can be quite daunting and perhaps scary for a few people, so it's very appropriate this is being posted on Halloween. And I have a few examples of terrifying puzzles that I absolutely do not like behind me. When you are doing this, maybe do a tough puzzle on the front side first, so actually it might make the back seem a little bit easier when you don't need to focus on any patterns and you can only focus on the shapes. A large part of speed puzzling and puzzling in general is the ability to identify shapes of pieces to help move the process along. This is especially true when you are working with images that you can't rely on the colors or the patterns. For instance, this can include images with skies with very little color differentiation. Fur is always a common one. Flowers, especially pink painted ones. There are a lot of images where you need to be able to identify shapes, and this lesson will kind of help you along with that ability. Speed puzzlers do tend to rely heavily on images and patterns, which of course they will. That is the fastest way to get through a puzzle. But as I mentioned, you may run into a puzzle where there is very little differentiation in a second. If you don't have the ability to quickly go through identifying shapes, you will slow down significantly, and getting your energy back and picking that pace up becomes much more challenging the longer you are working on a puzzle. If you start going slow, you may just you could lose interest. That does happen to me. And yeah, again, it's hard to get out of that mindset. In this video, I'm going to go through some examples of how you can practice identifying shapes by puzzling upside down. And what I mean by that is flipping the entire puzzle over, so you're only looking at the back of the puzzle. At no point am I going to suggest completing an entire 500 piece puzzle upside down, because that would be insane. I mean, you can try it, but you probably shouldn't schedule anything else for the rest of the day. Example 1, ideally get a puzzle that is around 100 pieces. The 99 piece Ravensburger moment puzzles are perfect for this. Dump the pieces out and do a reverse flip and put together the solid blue puzzle. You can still start with the edge, but you are now relying solely on piece shape. My advice is to pick out a corner piece and remember which one you picked. This will be your starting corner. Always start in the same corner. I'll go with the bottom left. This will be important later. Try to avoid trial and error and really consider what each piece looks like and the space you are trying to fill. If you've never done this, it will go very slow the first time. If you've done it before, it will still go slow. Try this a few times, but remember that initial corner piece. Choose a different one each time, but still start in that same bottom left corner or whatever. This provides you with 4 different versions of the same puzzle. As the image doesn't matter, you'll be looking at different shapes from time to time. An extra challenge or a way to kind of measure your progress instead of looking at speed try to note how many mistakes you make. So if you pick a piece up and try to put it in and it doesn't fit, count that as one mistake. You will probably get into dozens, if not over 100 mistakes the first few times you do this. Try to get that number down over time. Another option for shape practice is to go back to our old friend, the circle puzzle. Upside down circle puzzles are a great way to increase difficulty levels as you see fit. For the circle puzzle, first assemble one normally by looking at the image. It's good practice and it does make the upside down part easier. Once you're done, starting from the inside and working your way out, pick a number of concentric circles or rows and remove them from the larger puzzle and get rid of it. With your mini circle puzzle that you have left, disassemble it, reverse flip, and then solve it with the blue side facing up. The more rows you pick, the more challenging it becomes. 7 rows, which includes the middle, is 116 pieces. 6 rows is 82 pieces. This is probably a good place to start. Or 5 rows, which is somewhere in the 50s. This is significantly tougher the more you spread out from the middle circle. The downside here is that you may get used to the pattern after repetitions, and the Ravensburger circle puzzles have the same cut for the vast majority of them. There might be 1 or 2 exceptions. However, it is still a good way to focus purely on shape, and can help with identifying some of the tricks the circle puzzles have when you can't rely on the image, or when you think the image is providing no real helpful information. Think astrology, blue section. For the last example, any standard 500-piece ribbon cut puzzle will do. Select a 10 by 10 section and remove it from the main puzzle, and then place it to the side. Again, disassemble your 10 by 10 section, or 100 pieces, and reverse flip. To lower the difficulty, use 2 edges to help create a starting point. To increase the difficulty, use just 1 edge. For maximum difficulty, use no edges. A standard 500-piece puzzle will provide you with 176 different 10 by 10 square puzzles, so there are plenty of opportunities to practice upside down and focus on shapes. Finally, to increase the difficulty even more, you could choose a random cut puzzle as well. Still do a 10 by 10 square. It's a little bit more challenging depending on how random the cut is, but this is definitely something that will help you focus on shape. When choosing to do a puzzle upside down, any brand is possible for this, with the exception of any that have the same type of piece for each one. So if it's all those normal standard 2 in, 2 out pieces for the entire puzzle, those are probably puzzle brands to avoid in this case. You want to have a range of different shapes, so it does make the process a little bit easier as you work your way through a puzzle upside down. You can still choose a puzzle with that increased difficulty where all the pieces look exactly the same. It won't necessarily help for skill development in this area unless those 2x2s somehow look a lot different, but that is rare. For stamina purposes, this may help. It's going to be a grind to get through it, a lot of trial and error. Again, that's not really helpful for what we're trying to do in this type of lesson. When you're practicing this, especially at the very beginning, you will want to take it slowly. Really focus on the small details of whatever spot you are trying to fill within the puzzle and try to identify those unique features on the pieces you have to choose from. Yes, this will take longer, but your brain kind of needs to resort itself so it's not relying on color or patterns anymore. It's only looking purely at shape. Make sure to record yourself or track your progress in some sort of way, whether it's by time or by mistake count, whatever that might be. It will take more time to remember any of the designs or patterns compared to when you do other puzzles, so that's not really going to be an issue here. You won't be able to rely on your memory of what pieces come next as easily, especially if you're changing up the orientation of the puzzle each time, which, again, I suggest you do. This is not an easy task to do. You will see in the examples I provided, my times are quite long for a 100-piece puzzle, which I should be completing in 4 to 6 minutes, depending on the image and the puzzle style. So don't worry about the time. What I'm looking for when I do this is the amount of times I pick up a piece and I don't put it in the puzzle on the first or maybe second try. That is it for Lesson 12 of Speed Puzzling 101, Tips and Tricks. Click like if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, leave a comment below if you didn't, or if you have a suggestion or a question, and make sure to click subscribe so you stay up to date with everything that is on this channel. Coming up very soon on this channel are some interesting episodes. There is another episode of Puzzled and Chatty, where I talk with another Canadian speed puzzler. There's a lot to learn from that episode coming up, so make sure you have clicked subscribe. I'll also be releasing a video very soon on my thoughts on the new international competition that has recently been announced. And I will see you next week for another lesson. Class dismissed, and until next time, as always, happy puzzling. Bye.